Okay, here we are under the hood. This car is still running the MAF. You know, that it hasn't been swapped over to any kind of ECU. It's an engine intake, which you can see there, down to the 18G turbo, which you can clearly see, aside from that one little dirt spot, is like shiny brand new. Obviously the stock 16G would not have that shiny gray anymore. It would be fully oxidized and you know, because of the heat and the cold and everything, kind of like this manifold here, where the idiot before me didn't have this that blocks the rain off. On the stock hood, was not there, so it did get a little bit of water, but I mean, it's still fully functional. And the heat shield was taken off, because the heat shields on these things are just absolutely ugly. And there's your hot side of the turbo and the downpipe, which you can kind of sort of see right there, peeking up, the Megan Racing downpipe. Which it's not tuned for. I meant to tell you, that's the other thing, the reason it needs tuned. It's just because these cars, and that's the engine intake piping versus the stock, and that really ups the horsepower in these things, which is why it's making 260 the wheels anyway. It's just because of the extra airflow. But these cars are temperamental when they're not tuned. I don't know if you ever owned any turbo cars. I think you said that that Civic's your first car, but they are really, really temperamental when they're when they're modded up with all that extra air, and they're not matched with fuel, or they've got too much fuel, not enough air. There's another startup for you. Just to show you again, I'm going to point out here that when you flick the light into the on, or the key into the on position, all the lights do glow, the check engine light and all that good stuff, just to let you know the bulbs haven't been pulled or anything like that. It's starting to snow out here. Okay, let you hear it run. I don't know how well these speakers translate this sound, so I don't even know if you can hear it, to be honest, but that's a vent to atmosphere blow-off valve, which you're not supposed to run on a stock Evo that is running the mass airflow, because this thing's sensing air because it's all metered, and then this thing blows off all that air, and this thing gets confused and doesn't know what's going on, and it usually will cause the car to stall. But because mine is tuned for the vent to atmosphere blow-off valve, it doesn't have that problem like another Evo would that doesn't. Most of the guys actually run this without the cone, and they have a tube that recirculates back into the valve cover. That way the air is accounted for, that way the mass airflow sensor doesn't get confused. But really, I would recommend switching over to a MAP ECU, and once you switch over to a MAP ECU, you can, I mean, the tuning capabilities are endless. But like I said, this thing is tuned moderately to the mods it does have, which is important on these cars. But that, with the addition of that downpipe, getting a little bit more air, you really ought to have it retuned just to make sure it's getting enough fuel. But I mean, it runs and idles fine. See if I can get the throttle here and let you listen to it rev up if I can find it. I've never done that on this car before. Here we go. And you can hear the blow-off valve. And obviously after it blows off, you can hear it levels out and idles fine again. So that's it.